Hi friends, we're gonna start with a new topic, that is swaps. Let's start. Coming to the mechanics of interest rate swap, it is pertinent to note that why people are doing interest rate swaps. So for hedging purpose, interest rate swaps are being done to convert a floating rate of interest to a fixed rate and a fixed rate of interest to floating rate. For speculation purpose also these swaps are being done. So in the case of hedging purpose, here a Paul who is paying to the lender at a floating rates want to convert his liability in fixed rate, and here Mary who is paying to the lender at fixed rate want to convert her liability into floating rate since she expects the market to go down below this 10% rate. Okay, so how they does this is that Paul approaches a banker, says that he will pay a fixed rate to him at 10.10%. Let's just give back the labor to him. Okay, so at the end of the day what happens is that Paul will have to pay LIBOR plus 0.5. This LIBOR he will get back from the bank whom he has contracted with, and he will be paying 10.10% to the bank. So similarly for Mary will be paying 10% to the lender, and she will have a contract with the bank to pay LIBOR and get back 10% from the bank. So whatever bank pays, she will directly pay to the lender and she will pay LIBOR to the bank. So effectively for Paul, he is only paying this 10.10% plus this 0.05%, which is actually for fixed for Paul, and for Mary she is paying LIBOR to the bank, which is floating for Mary. So both of them have done whatever they wanted to do, they have achieved. And for the bank, they are getting LIBOR and they are paying LIBOR. They are getting 10.10 from Paul and paying 10% to Mary. Net profit gain for bank is 0.10, which is the riskless profit that bank is making in between. So everyone, for everyone it is a win-win situation. So this is how the interest rate swaps works in real life. So this is also being done by several banks for speculation purpose, where they will transact in with a notional principle in hand. They will transact in, they will bet on floating and fixed rates, and they will agree to pay on a fixed rate and get back a floating rate. And if it is favorable to them, like the floating rate is more than the fixed rate, they will be gaining. So if it is less, they will be losing. So it is just a betting transaction for speculation purpose based on critical analysis, crucial analysis that bank does. Based on that, they will take up such risk and make profit on that. This is hedging transaction, which I have explained to you. There are speculation transactions that is being done by major investments banks like JP Morgan, Morgan Chase, etc. Financial intermediaries for a swap transaction. The swaps, there are swap intermediaries who bring together the parties needs for the opposite side of the swaps. They may be dealers, large banks, and brokerage firms. In many cases, a swap party will not be aware of the other party on the offsetting side of the swap, because both parties will likely only transact with the intermediaries. In this case, it is pertinent to note that if one of the parties default, the intermediary will be responsible. Financial intermediaries such as banks, which typically earn spread of for both bringing two non-financial companies together in a swap agreement. This is the fees they charge, that as I've explained to you in a previous slide, that whatever the spread that comes in between for the banks will be their fees. Confirmations are drafted by ISDA, the International Swap and Derivative Association, outline the details of each swap agreement, the tenor of the contract, what happens when this get defaulted, etc. will be written down in that confirmation, and it will be drafted by International Swaps and Derivative Association. Comparative advantages in swap trading is one of the most important topics in swap trading. If you see, the comparative advantage arises due to absolute and comparative advantages of certain companies in certain market. If you take an example here, with this example we'll explain how comparative advantage actually works. So company A can borrow at fixed rate 3.5% and floating rate at LIBOR plus 0.1%. Company B can borrow at 4.9% fixed and floating at LIBOR plus 0.9%. The major mistake that happens here is people thinking that in both market A has an advantage. It is true that A has an absolute advantage in both the market, but in comparative advantage, in the case of comparative advantage, A has advantage only in fixed market. Why, I will tell you. If say the difference between the both interest rates in fixed market is 4.9 minus 3.5, 1.4%. If A has similar advantage in floating market also, it should be 1.4% here also, but it shows only 0.8%. So comparatively, B has an advantage in floating market. It is said that B has an advantage in floating market and A has an advantage in fixed market. Keeping this in mind, as a banker, we will need to devise a formula so that both A and B gets an advantage and we also gain some profit. So how much profit we are going to make, we total three of us, the bank, A and B, are going to make is based upon simple calculation, that is the comparative advantage in fixed market minus the comparative advantage in floating market. See, now company B can get 4.9% loan and company A can get 3.5%. So 3.5%, 4.9 minus 3.4%, 3.5% is 1.4%. And in floating market, LIBOR plus 0.9%. Here LIBOR plus 0.1%. So the difference is coming to 0.8%. So the total profit that we can make is 1.4% minus 0.8%, which is nothing but 0.6%, which is nothing but 60 basis points. So this is the profit that we will have to make, we can make using this arrangement if we have a comparative advantage in certain markets. So how we'll do that, how we'll make this 0.6% depend upon how we apportion the profit. Here I want to apportion the profit equally between company A and company B. So this is the arrangement I will make. So it is pretty straightforward here. Like company B will be paying LIBOR outside. For the outside market, they will have to pay just a second. They'll have to pay LIBOR plus 0.9%, which is a market floating rate, and company A will have to pay 3.5% fixed rate outside. So as a banker, I'll get into an arrangement with company A that you pay me LIBOR and I'll pay you 3.68%, and I will pay company B LIBOR and let him pay me 3.72%. So in this arrangement, the total gain for each parties will be calculated individually. If you take a party B, let me take B. So B will be paying, we will be getting LIBOR from the bank and he will be paying LIBOR plus 0.9%. So his net outflow is 0.9% here, plus he will also be paying 3.72% to the bank. So total he will be paying 4.62%. So here the thing is that company B will only be paying fixed 4.62%, but in case he goes outside to get a loan, he will be paying 4.9%. So he is earning, getting a profit of 0.28%. So coming to the next party, company A. So company A is paying 3.5% outside, and is getting 3.68 from the bank, and he is paying LIBOR to the bank. So total he will be paying LIBOR minus 0.18%. So if he goes outside, he will be paying LIBOR plus 0.1%. So his total savings comes to again 0.28%. So adding 0.28 and 0.28 comes to 0.56 percentage only. So according to the argument of comparative advantage, we should be getting 0.60 percentage. So where that 0.04 percentage went is what we have to check. That is with this party. So bank is receiving 3.72 percentage and giving out only 3.68 percentage. So bank gains 0.04 percentage, which gives our argumentative proof that is 0.60 percentage in total. So this is how the arrangement works. If there is any comparative advantage in any market like this, we can get a comparative advantage out of this, and all the three parties can make profit. In this case, A has made a profit of 0.28 percentage, so does B, and bank has made a profit of 0.04 percentage. All these profit are riskless, and this is the concept of comparative advantage. Valuation of interest rate swaps using the discount rate. So how to go about with discount rate and what discount rate is being used. So the value of this interest rate swap is determined by discounting each cash flow back to the valuation date. Usually the rate used is the either implied by forward rate agreement or the convexity adjusted euro dollar futures are used to produce LIBOR spot curve, and this swap cash flows are discounted using corresponding spot rate from this curve. There is a whole different concept that we'll talk about. And here the formula is given by R forward is equal to R2 plus R2 minus R1 into T1 divided by T2 minus T1. So here T1 is time 1, T2 is time 2, R2 is spot rate corresponding to T2 years, and R1 is spot rate corresponding to T1 years. So R forward can be calculated by using this formula. This will be used in calculating the rate for forward rate agreement while valuing interest rate swap using FRS. So coming to valuation of interest rate swaps, valuing it using bonds. See, there are two methods of valuing interest rate swaps. One is using bonds and other is using FRAs. So here we are going to learn about how to use bonds to value interest rate swap. Consider a interest rate swap agreement with X and Y, company X and company Y, where company X receives floating rates and gives away fixed rate, and Y receives fixed rate and gives away floating rate. So if you denote first leg payment sets B fixed and the present value of floating leg as B FLT, the value of swap can be written for both X and Y as, for X it is B FLT minus B fix. For Y it is B fix minus B FLT. Okay, so while valuing a bond using valuing a swap using a bond, we need to keep in mind that for the floating bond that we are going to value, we will be only taking the next floating payment, not all the floating payment that is yet to come. The next floating payment is taken and added with the notional principal, which is equal to the bond value, and it shall be discounted and brought back to the period that we are going to value our slab. So that is the basic idea behind valuing our swap using a bond. So here value of swap is equal to value of fixed bond minus value of floating bond. We can value the fixed rate bond using spot rate curve and then discount next non floating rate payment plus notional amount to the current discount rate. So floating rate bond is only valued from the next date, and it is being brought back to our period in which we wanted to value our swap. So that is the basic idea, and that is the point that we have to note in this. So we'll consider an example. So consider an example of 1 million notional swap that pays a floating rate based on 6 months LIBOR and gives 6% fixed rate semi-annually. Swap has remaining life of 15 months and pays at dates 3, 9 and 15 months. Spot LIBOR rates are as follows. 3 months is 5.4%, 9 months is at 5.6% and 15 months is at 5.8%. The LIBOR rate at the last payment date is 5%. calculate the value of swap to the fixed rate receiver using the bond methodology. So this is the question. If you want to read, please pause and read it. So the answer is, first we will calculate the bond fixed using the genuine method that we use for our bond calculation. So we will take all the cash flows, that is 30,000, which is nothing but 1 million into 6% semi-annually for for 3 periods, that is 3 months, 9 months and 15 months, and we'll discount it back using the 3 months LIBOR rate, 9 months LIBOR rate and 15 months LIBOR rate. So that is being done here, and at the last principal is also brought back to the current period using that 15 months LIBOR rate. So it gives 10,18,316 as the value of the fixed bond. So we'll have to value the floating bond. So floating bond is, this is a tricky space where the floating bond, all the 3 payment up to the maturity of this bond in this swap is not calculated. Only the next fixed floating rate payment, that is 1 million into 0.5 by 2, which is the rate last known LIBOR payment, is brought back to the current period. So it is like 10 lakh, which is the notional principal, plus the interest is being calculated using the last payment date interest rate, that is 5%. So interest is being calculated, that will come around 25,000, and this 25,000 plus 10 lakh is added and brought back to the period to now by using the 3 months LIBOR rate. So that gives a value, and this also gives us a value. So value of swap is equal to bond fixed minus bond floating. Since the value of a swap is fixed, B fixed minus B float, so which gives 10,18,316 minus 10,11,611, which is equal to 6,705. The characteristic, the basic thing that we need to note is this floating bond will not be valued up to the maturity, but only the last interest rate payment will be taken and brought back to the current period using LIBOR rate of the next interest payment, which is 3 months interest payment. So that's how we value an interest rate swap using a bond. Valuation of interest rate swap, valuing an interest rate swap with FRAs. So we can see that the interest rate swap is equivalent to a series of FRAs. This is being said because if you know about the FRAs, that is the forward rate agreements, what happened is at the end of a forward rate agreement, the fixed rate will be the rate fixed as the agreement, and the variable rate will be the rate that is pertaining to the market, and net settlement of both the rates happens at a notional principal. So this is what happens in the case of forward rate agreements. If you take forward rate agreement, it is like a periodic settlement of interest rate swap. In interest rate swap also, we will do the net settlement of what is in the market and what is agreed upon, or the floating or fixed. So the difference between that is net settled between the parties. So an interest rate swap can be viewed as a series of FRAs up to the maturity. So one way to value the swap would be to use expected forward rate to forecast the expected net cash flows and discount these expected cash flows at the corresponding spot rate consistent with forward rate expectations. So that's what we are going to do when we value interest rate swap with FRAs. We'll take an example. So considering the previous example of valuing interest rate swap with 2 bond positions, an investor has 1 million notional swap that pays a floating rate based on 6 months LIBOR and receives 6 months fixed rate. So fixed rate is 6% and 6 months LIBOR is taken, 3 months and 6 months 15 months swap period. So spot rates are 3 months 5.4, 9 months 5.6 and 15 months 5.8. The LIBOR at the last payment date was 5%. Okay, so calculate the value of swap and to the fixed rate receiver using FRA methodology. Okay, so as here we have they have given that last payment was 5%. So the floating cash flow for 3 months would be 25,000. That is 5% into 1 million. Divide by 2 because it's for a 6 months period. So that's taken, and for fixed days cash flow will be at 6%, that is 30,000, 30,000, 30,000, 6% of 1 million divided by 2. So then we'll have to find out the next two cash flows at 9 months and 15 months. So for that we'll have to use the formula R forward is equal to R2 minus R2 plus R2 minus R1 into T1 by T2 minus T1, where R2 is rate at the time 2 and T2 is time 2, R1 is rate at time 1 and T1 is time 1. Okay, so R forward is equal to 0.056, which is 9 months forward rate, plus R2 minus R1 0.056 minus 5.4 into 0.25, which is 3 months period, that is 3 months divided by 12 into 0.75 minus 0.25, 6 months minus 3 months, 9 months minus 3 months, so which gives 5.7 percentage. So 5.7 percentage of 1 million divided by 2 is 28,500, and similarly we will calculate for the 15 months, which comes around 6.1 percentage, and our cash flow will be 30,500 based on 6.1 percentage. So we'll be using discount present value factor of this, and this will find out the present value of fixed cash flow and floating cash flow, and the difference will be the value of the swap. Okay, so that is being done for finding out interest rate swap value using FRS. So this is how we value FRS using interest rate swap. It's pretty straightforward. Takes fixed cash flow, find out floating cash flow using this formula, and discount using our interest rate, our present value factor interest rate of present value factor of our interest rate, and find out the present value of cash flows. And FRA value would be, value of the interest rate would be the difference between fixed rate cash flows, present value of fixed rate cash flows, minus present value of floating rate cash flows, which is pretty straightforward. Other type of swaps, currency swaps. Currency swap are one other type of swaps like interest rate swap, but there are many differences between currency swap and interest rate swap. A currency swap exchanges both principal and interest rate payment with payments in different currencies, maybe USD and GBP. So the valuation and application of currency swap is similar to that of interest rate swap, with certain differences, which are they are exchanged, the currencies are exchanged at the inspection of the currency swap, so that they have equal value using the spot exchange rate. Since for interest rate swap we are taking a notional principle, here that doesn't work that way. We'll have to transfer, we will have to exchange the currency swap so that they have equal value at the spot exchange rate. Then the periodic cash flows are not netted, they will be paying the periodic cash flows, and the value of swap is given by the formula. Value of swap in USD is equal to, this is present value of USD denominated payment minus spot rate in USD as per GBP into present value of GBP denominated payments. So we'll take an example and see how this works. So consider this example in currency swaps. Suppose we have two companies A and B enter into fixed to fixed currency swap in periodic payment annually. Company A pays 6% in Great Britain pounds to Company B and receive 5% in US dollars from Company B. Company A pays principal amount to B USD 175 million and B pays 100 million to A in GBP. Notice that A is effectively borrowed from B, and so that it must pay interest on loan, and similarly B is borrowed from A. The cash flows in the swap are actually more easily computed than in an interest rate swap, because both the legs are fixed. Every period of 12 months A will pay 6 million GBP and B will pay USD 8.75 million. At the end of the swap, principals are exchanged. So this is how it works. And the question is, suppose the yield curve in United States and Great Britain are flat at 2 and 4%. The spot exchange rate is 1.5 per GBP for 1 USD. So for 1 GBP, value the currency swap just discussed, assuming the swap will last for 3 more years. So this is the present value of USD denominated payments USD denominated payments is 8.75 million, discounted at first year, discounted at second year, and discounted at third year. This will give 190.14 million rupees. So this is 8.75, and this 175 million plus 8.75 million, which is 183.75 million. Discounted value will be 190 million closely, and GBP will be 6 million, which will be discounted for 3 years, and plus this 100 million GBP, which is discounted for last year, which will give a GBP of 105.55 million. So value of swap is, according to the formula, will be the GBP denominated present value of GBP denominated cash flows minus spot rate, that is 1.5, which is given here, into the present value of GBP. This is USD denominated. This is value of swap is in USD, so present value of USD denominated present value of USD denominated cash flows minus spot rate into present value of GBP denominated cash flows, which will give you USD 31.82 million. So that is how we calculate the value of a currency swap. Valuation of currency swap using FRS. So one other method to value currency swaps is using FRAs. So this is the method. This is how we explain the method using a example. So suppose the yield curves in United States and Great Britain are flat at 2% and 4% respectively, and the current spot exchange rate is USD 1.5 per GBP. Compute the value of swap discussed. Assume that swap will last for 3 more years. So we'll have to find out the forward rate at the beginning. The forward rate is found out by using these interest rate which are given and the USD rate at spot. 1.5 for the first year, 1.5 into 1.02 divided by 1.04, which gives 1.47. This 1.47 for year 2 will give 1.47 into 1.02 divided by 1.04. Likewise, for 3 years we will have to calculate the FRA. There is a whole different discussion that will not form a part of this discussion. For this, you assume that it is given. So when this is given, how to calculate the value of the swap? So first you'll have to calculate the cash flows in GBP and USD and net it off and find out the present value of the cash flows. That will be the value of our currency swap. So USD cash flows will be 8.75, 8.75, 8.75 and 175 in the year 3. So GBP cash flows will be 6 million in 3 years, and last year 100 million will also come. So forward rate is already calculated or given. We'll be putting 1.47, 1.44 and 1.41. So we'll then convert GBP into USD by using these forward rates, and we'll net it off, and we'll find the present value of netted cash flows using 2% discount rate, so which will give us 32.33, which is the value of our currency swap. This is one way to find out our value of the currency swap using forward rates. The value, the finding out of forward rates is very simple when interest rates and spot rate is given, but that is a whole different discussion. So this is the way to find out currency swap value, which is slightly different from whatever we have computed in using the earlier method, but that is due to rounding off. Coming to swap credit risk, as you all know that value of swap A plus value of swap B should be 0. Whenever one side of swap has a positive value, the other side must be negative. For example, if value of swap A greater than 0, value of swap B must be less than 0, which means that B will have to pay to A. B will have to pay to A. As value of swap A increases, value of swap B must be more negative. So in this case, this results in increased credit risk to A because likelihood of default increases as B has larger and larger payments to make to A. And as B goes negative, the credit risk of A increases because likelihood of default increases in the case of B. So, but losses are less in the case of these type of swap credit risk because value of swaps is generally much smaller than the value of the debt. Other types of swaps. There are other types of swaps such as equity swaps, CDS, commodity swap agreements, and volatility swaps. Equity swaps are written on a stock portfolio stock index. is paid each period by one party in return on fixed rate or floating rate payment. So I agree with another party that you give me a fixed rate of LIBOR payment, I'll be paying you the return on this stock. The return can be dividend or capital appreciation. So the next one is credit default swap. We'll be learning this in quite detail. Many of you might have been knowing this in quite a detail. Provides the holder with protection against default of a subject company. So this is like when when the company in which this credit default swap is taken and it defaults, then the seller will pay an amount to the buyer, and buyer periodically pays amount to the seller if it doesn't default. And index CDS is same as regular CDS, except it is on index. Commodity swap agreements whereby they pay a fixed rate for a multi-period delivery of commodity, and for multi-period delivery of commodity, these people will agree to pay a fixed rate and receive a floating rate. Volatility swap, it is based on volatility swap, pre-specified volatility. One side pays swap based on pre-specified volatility and other will pay based on historical volatility, so that net will be paid. So this is the other type of swaps other than currency swaps and interest rate swaps. Thanks guys, thanks for watching. Kindly comment if you don't like the video. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.